wrong, where would you go? Back to the person who made it, right? That's where you go. Okay. We are all broken. Everybody standing in this driveway is broken, and that includes me. Chris shared one thing, my chocolate thing. I mean, I love food. I can eat. I won't stop. So I'm on the indulging thing. But we are all broken in one way or another. Now, who created us? God created us. So why wouldn't we go to Him to fix us instead of relying on ourselves? Is there anybody here who gave birth to themselves? Anybody here who created themselves and gave birth to themselves? Raise your hand. Well, that's good. Got your attention now. Somebody raised their hand. I was gonna respond to that one. Good. Well, we need something then. We need something very important. And your first fill-in is going to be get time with God. What does the Bible say here in Ephesians 6:10? It says, build up your strength in union with the Lord and by the means of His mighty power. That's how we get the mighty power, is having a quiet time. I'm presently doing a study right now. It's called Beloved Dust. And it encourages you to have 30 minutes of quiet time. Quiet time with the Lord. Now, this is kind of funny because a lot of us are used to praying to the Lord, but what is quiet time? Let me ask you something. If you have a friend and all you do is talk and your friend isn't allowed to talk back to you, what is that? You're just talking all the time. Talk, talk, talk. Not allowed to respond, not allowed to give any input. That's what a lot of us do, and that's a good step. That's called prayer. That is an excellent step, that you do connect with the Lord and pray. But do we ever stop and listen to His voice? Do we have any quiet time? We might just be venting. God, why did you let this happen to me? Or God, I need this. Or think of Him as a genie. But actually having a quiet time. If you were in a situation where you were very close, a very fearful situation, who would you turn to? What would you do if all of a sudden you're in a scary situation, an earthquake or a tidal wave or something that really scares you? What would be your first reaction? Pray. Pray. Now, wouldn't it be great if we were already familiar with His voice? Or if we were near death and we know this is it, we're going now. Wouldn't it be great if we were already familiar with our Father and Jesus? How do you think we do this? It takes a lifetime to get familiar with His voice, with the Creator. What does the Bible say? A daily quiet time for a Bible reading and prayer. Now, what is the reason for that? Show me the path where I go, O Lord. Put out the right road for me to walk. Psalms 25:4. This is to guide you through your life. We had a series back here quite a while ago talking about choice. Choice. It's a choice, the path we take. We can have the one who created us guide us and give us a joyful life, or we can keep going on and making crazy decisions, trying to be in control of our lives. So what's the routine that Jesus did? Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. It was His habit. That's Luke 5:16. He did that because He wanted time with His Father. He needed guidance. Even though He was God in flesh, He needed guidance too, down here, because it's very hard to live down here. He wanted to make that a habit. Now, what were the results? If you remain in me and my words remain in you, then you may ask for anything you wish, and you shall have it. John 15:7. Anything you wish, and you will have it. Not just some desperation. I need to get shelter right now real quick. We can do that. We have resource tables here. We can do all that. But to change your life, that is a choice. That's a choice. And that's giving up control. It all began with Adam and Eve. It was all back then. God gave them everything they needed in this beautiful Garden of Eden. Everything they needed. But it started with the serpent. It started with that, tempting him with, wouldn't you like to be like God? Wouldn't you like to be like that? That's what the problem is wanting to be God. And how foolish is it? Because I haven't seen one of you say that you were able to give birth to yourself. So we will never be able to be God. We will never be able to do these things. So we need to humble ourselves and get back to the Creator and get on the path of a joyful life that He planned for us. Your next fill-in, number 2, is get together with believers every week. That is so important. How many of you are hanging out with people that are really not caring about you and just, maybe you share some habit or share some situation, but they don't care about you. It's a self-centered existence. They're not believers. They don't believe in the Lord. They believe in themselves. What's in it for me? You need to get around believers that will support you weekly. Here, also, people, get to know people that are coming here so you're not alone in the streets. Or go to, there's many places out here, other churches, other resources out here to help you. Why do we need to do this? Let us not give up the habit of meeting together. Instead, let us encourage each other. It encourages each other. We're not alone. We're not alone. The routine, they met day after day in the temple courts and from the house to house, Acts 5:42. The result, here's the result. This is the good part of it. 2 are better off than 1, because together they are more effective. If one falls down, the other can help him up. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. That's why we need to be together. Some people have good days and the other person can have a bad day, and you help each other. God asks us to love Him and love each other. It is so simple. If we just did those 2 commandments, this whole world would be incredibly different. Incredibly different. But we don't. It's a self-centered world that wants to be their own God. And that's what we need to change. That's what we need to change. The next one is kind of an interesting one that I'm going to talk about. If you see underneath the fill-in, it says tithing, return the first 10% of my income back to God. I know that's a little interesting for this group, but let me ask you something. Where is your treasure? Where do you put your money? What's the most important thing to you? What's the most important thing to you? Next drink? Next fix? Next what? What is it? What is it? Because that's where your heart is. God does not need your money. He asked for 10%. He could have asked for 50. He could have asked for 2%. The amount is meaningless. He doesn't need your money. The tithing was always a test. A test, because people put so much on money. If I have money, this is my money. I can do what I want. It's a control factor. Again, where do you put your money? Where's your pleasure? Where's your heart? Let's see what the Bible has to say. The reason, wherever your treasure is, your heart will be. Matthew 6:21. Deuteronomy 14:23 says, the purpose of tithing is to teach you to always put God first in your life. It's a test. And then the routine, on the first day of every week, set aside some of what you have earned and give it as an offering. The amount depends on how much the Lord has helped you earn. 1 Corinthians 16:2. You're being tested. We have a guy here. I was hoping he would be here today. His name is Mike DeLuna. He's been coming off and on for years. And his success, he believes, not only loving the Lord and all that, but he will ride his bike far, far away to give his tithing to this little church here, our church here. And this was before he even had an apartment, before he even had anything. And he would give what little he had on and on and on. And now he has his own place. He has a great job. I think he's got a car now. His whole life drastically changed because he put his faith in the Lord and he took that test. And he had nothing. And he was broken. And he had addictions. All these things. And the Lord turned his life around. It's a choice. 10 cents out of $1 isn't a lot. But that's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at your heart. If you stop looking at the money and look at the heart, then you'll see what the Lord was after. All right, let's look at the result here. Malachi 3:10. Bring your whole tithe into my storehouse. Test me in this, says the Lord, and see if I won't throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that you won't have enough room for it. We have a pastor that's been doing this for years. He constantly tries to outtest God, and he will tithe a little more and a little more and a little more. And his name is Pastor Rick Warren and his wife Kay Warren, and they are continuously blessed and blessed and blessed because they put their faith in the Lord. Not in the streets, not in the dollar you're holding, not in a promise somebody will say, I'll get you this if you can give me that. None of those things. Into the Lord. So what did they do? What do? You have a quiet time with the Lord. You ask the Maker. Ask the Maker how to help me, how to fix me in a humble way. Get rid of the control thing because you can't control it anyway. You can't control the weather. Like last week, you can't control one thing. You think you can control your life, then you still have a lot of years of foolish mistakes to make.
What was number 3?
Number three was give a tithe to God. Thank you. Yeah, give a tithe to God. And then number 2, find some Christian friends to hang out with. Better support. Better examples to be around. And the last one, start thinking about giving back to God. Put Him first in your life. Okay, Chris, are you coming up? Oh. Thank you.
I know you're looking at your bulletins, you'll see it says January 11th. I apologize about that. We actually had this message planned for last week. So you didn't go back in time, so don't worry about that. Although we can't go back in time, we can move forward in a good direction. And I'm really glad we talked about this because there is no better way to go on a good path for this year and to become spiritually fit and develop these habits. So if you guys feel you need help developing these habits, maybe even struggle with the quiet time with God, we got Bibles. We actually got Bibles from Saddleback, free for you guys, if you want. They're free Bibles right over there. And come and talk to us. We'll pray with you if you guys are serious about getting set up. So the first thing, we have some announcements. We're bringing back the devotionals. We used to have them. I apologize. I've slipped. But you know what? I'm going to bring these back. So if you guys are receiving them, we're going to bring it back. If you want to sign up for the devotionals, they can be sent to your email. We can do that for you free every day. So come and see me. We'll sign you up. The next thing is if you guys need prayer. You know, some of you have come here and maybe you eat the breakfast, you listen to a message, and then you go. But you've been coming here for maybe some time and you feel like God wants you to have prayer over something heavy in your heart. Well, don't be afraid to ask for prayer. We're here to pray with you. We'll keep everything confidential. We're not going to share it with anybody.